Spraying glyphosate on mature Provista. How does it fare out? What does it do to the plant? Does it kill all the weeds we want to kill? That's what we're going to talk about today. So for those of you guys who've been following along in the channel, you guys know that I have my fair share and experience of growing and experimenting with the Scotts Provista Kentucky bluegrass. Now, of course, they've been very popular in the South for a long time, but just now, which brings me to a perfect segue, they're becoming more and more prevalent and available in the North. By the way, I've had a lot of people ask me about where they can find Scotts Provista. I'm happy to let you know Advanced Turf Solutions is going to be your answer here in the Indiana area and up into the Northeast. That's going to be your best bet for that. Glyphosate on Scotts Provista Kentucky bluegrass at the mature application rate. So in the past, we've talked about applying glyphosate to Scotts Provista Kentucky bluegrass, but at that point, we were dealing with grass that was relatively new, whether it was my sod that was installed at the end of 2021 or our seed that we planted back in May of 2022, which we followed up with another seeding in August and a bunch of feedings after that to get it to where it is now. So the project lawns we were dealing with were fairly new at that time. Well, at this point, we've seasoned both of them another year, and because of that, I think it's about time we take things up a notch, get more efficacy out of our weed control, and see how these lawns fare at that higher application rate. So the application rate for fairly new sod and seed in the Provista realm, so very, very low. Mature grass, it's a little bit more potent, if you will. Now, this brings me to another point. With Scotts Provista, you have to be very careful with how much glyphosate you spray on it. You don't want to go past that rate. This isn't Superman grass, because I sprayed a very potent mix that I originally mixed for flower beds. One day I decided, you know what, I'm going to spray this on the Provista and see what happened. 4 weeks later, torched to death. Is it coming back? Yes, but do not blanket spray a very potent mix. More than that rate, it will torch it and burn it and just kill the whole thing off. You don't want that. So stay within that rate. As I stated, we're dealing with very mature Scotts Provista at this point. We're going to go at the higher application rate. That's where we're going to run with the glyphosate. Now, one of the things I've been seeing in both of my lawns, a little bit of crabgrass, mostly at my new seed property. At my house, I'm seeing some nutsedge, some creeping jenny, quackgrass, really just a bunch of weeds that are notoriously hard to control. So what I'm going to do to hedge my bets a little bit, and I recommend you guys do this as well, spike in a selective herbicide that will double down on those hard to control weeds. So in my case, I'm dealing with crabgrass and nutsedge, which I know is something I can control with a selective herbicide like Q4+. So I'm going to spike that in at its high application rate with my glyphosate. So then that way I have two modes of action working on those selectively controlled weeds in conjunction using the glyphosate to kill off the weeds that are hard to control with anything else like the quackgrass. How can we apply it? Well, there's a couple of different ways we could do that. We could either come in with a hand can and spot spray them, or you could do what I like to do when I have a little bit of fun, and that is to broadcast it. Now, I think that's a good thing to do if you have a lot of weed pressure, just to kind of get a lot of those weeds under control, make that first glyphosate application a broadcast application, just to get those weeds under control, and then anything that pops up after that, you could do a spot spray application. As you can see in the video I'm putting up here, I did both of my properties with my Permagreen Triumph, and it did just fine. Just make sure everything's calibrated, and make sure that if you have any property lines around you, that you set your distance, because you do not want glyphosate drifting from your Provista onto somebody's lawn that isn't Provista, because there's a consequence and price to be paid for doing that. So make sure you take all that into account before you do a blanket app, whether it's a pull behind sprayer with a wand like I've done in the past, or a Permagreen Triumph. If you're a DIYer, most of you are going to be backpacking this. That's totally fine. Just walk the lawn in a grid using IPM integrated pest management, spot spraying the weeds where you see them and not where you don't. If you do that with this particular mix, again, this is what works for me, because these are the weeds I'm seeing right now. Crabgrass and nutsedge, I'm going to put in Q4 to control those, as well as some other hard to control broadleaf weeds, and my glyphosate to control everything and get those two modes of action. I figured I would show you something very interesting. So this is my sod here at home, and this is about 2 weeks after I sprayed it with the glyphosate out of the Permagreen. Now, before I get up close, I want to remind you that this lawn hasn't had any nitrogenous fertilizer about 12 weeks now, so we're due for that. So we'll be talking about a blend that we like to apply this time of year to help pop lawns back out of their funk. But when we sprayed, we had a heat wave come through, an aggressive heat wave. And when you spray glyphosate on a lawn before, during a heat wave, which we did it at night, by the way, just to take our as much proactive measure as we could. We had a very hot week following that application, and because of that, not only do we kill the weeds, which is a good thing, but we have a little bit of tip burn on the Provista here. I just want to show that to you. Okay, see that right there? Tip burn. So when we come up a little bit further, you'll see that it has a little bit of a brownish haze to it. Now, this isn't really something to be worried about. All we're going to do is just keep caring for it like we normally have. We actually got some cooler temperatures and rain, which is a good thing to help alleviate that stress. And like I said, we got a summer blend that's going to be going down on this soon as well as the Provista seed project. So you'll have to stay tuned to see that. But in the meantime, yeah, it's just something to be cautious and aware of. Spray at night if you can, especially with glyphosate, you know, being that it is a damaging herbicide when used at the wrong times. So yeah, so I guess the moral of the story being, be careful when you spray glyphosate, and if it's in your schedule, make sure you can do it at night. Not only is the plant more receptive, but you're less likely to damage the plant from stress. Now again, this was going to happen anyway because of how hot it was, and just given the timing of my schedule and it permitting and everything, we got a really good kill. Check this out. This right here, this is the quackgrass that I showed you in the B-roll earlier. Look at that. Completely dead to crisp. Looking good. Is the nutsedge that was also in the video. Check that out. Dead as a weed. See what I did there? But yeah, look at that. Dead as a weed. There's the creeping Ginny right there. Pretty good. Coverage could have been a little better. I was very reluctant with my permagreen just because of the tight spot, so I'll have to come back with a hand cam later and hit like that. Pretty disappointed about that, but you know, it is what it is. I'm putting pictures up on the screen right now of my seed project and the crabgrass and the quackgrass and some of the sedges we killed over there as well. As you can see, very nice results. Very nice results in a matter of 12 days. It's only going to get better with time. That's the beautiful thing about turfgrass. So just to show you guys the progression of this grass, what it was at the beginning, the drastic gains and improvement we made, I recommend you check out these two videos right here to give you a little context on the origin of that project and how we got it to where it is now. And if you click this button here, something magical is going to happen, which will allow you to see more stuff from me as I teach you how to have the deepest, darkest, greenest, thickest lawn on the block, whether it's with Provista or any cool season grass, or maybe even warm season grass. That's right. I'll help you. Click it.